Good evening. Tonight we cut through the noise, the headliners, the outrage, the political theater coming out of Washington. Because as President Donald Trump confronts Iran head on, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. The critics have plenty to say, but have no plan to back it up. Let's ground this in facts, no spins. Since the Iranian Revolution, Iran's ruling regime has built its identity around hostility towards the United States and Israel. That's not speculation, that's decades of documented rhetoric and policy. Iran has funded and armed proxy forces across the region, including groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis. At the same time, it has expanded its missile arsenal and pushed towards with nuclear development capacity that has alarmed administrations on both sides of the aisle. Fast forward to now, a direct confrontation, global markets shaken, strategic waterways under pressure, and that very real possibility of wider escalation. This didn't appear overnight. This has happened when threats are allowed to grow year after year, administration after administration. And that brings us to President Trump. Unlike past administrations, he didn't delay. He didn't kick the can down the road. He acted. The stated objective, stop Iran before Iran makes the first irreversible move. That includes nuclear capacity, that includes long-range missile threats, and that includes global terror network Iran has spent decades building. Now enters the critics. From Chris Murphy to Cory Booker to Mark Kelly and much of the Democratic establishment, they call the war reckless. They call it dangerous. They call it unauthorized. Fine. Then answer the question, what is your plan? Because we've seen the alternative before. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, a diplomatic effort that aims to contain Iran's nuclear ambitions. Critics of that deal argue it gave Iran time, money, and leverage without permanently eliminating the threat. Then came years of shifting sanctions, partial enforcements, and inconsistent pressure. And through all of that, Iran continued to advance. So let's be honest about where we are today. This is not a clean situation. This is not an easy war, and there are real risks, economically and military. But here's what is also true. Doing nothing was a risk too, and that's what critics rarely acknowledge. Recent developments only reinforce the stakes. Iran has demonstrated the capability to project power far beyond its borders, including long-range missiles actively that have raised alarms amongst U.S. defense officials. This is not theoretical anymore. This is operational. And now we get to the latest criticism, the ceasefire. President Trump extended the ceasefire window, and immediately critics claimed it was a sign of weakness. Let's be very clear. Extending a ceasefire is not surrender. It is not a retreat. And it certainly doesn't mean President Trump blinked. It means he is controlling peace of the conflict, not reacting to it. There is a difference between hesitation and calculated restraint. And right now, the United States is operating from the position of strength, not uncertainty. Supporters argue that for the first time in years, American adversaries are being forced to respond, not dictated. That pressure matters because for decades, Iran expanded its reach while the world debated how to respond. Now, the equation has changed. So once again, to those in Washington who oppose this strategy, where's yours? Because saying end the war is not a strategy, criticism is not leadership, and the outrage is not policy. President Trump made a decision, a controversial one, a consequential one, but it was a decision rooted in a belief that waiting any longer could carry a greater consequence. And until his critics can present a clear and realistic alternative, this debate isn't about whether the action was taken. It's about whether anyone else was willing to do so. For Englebrook Independent News, I'm Haylee Ficuciello.